Okay, so today we're talking about a horse, and not just any horse. This was a legend in 2 different careers on 3 different continents. A horse who, even at 30 years old, was just as fierce as the day he was born. But the story of his final moments and the last thing his caretaker ever said about him, trust me, it's something you won't forget.
And that unforgettable story, it kicks off right here. Picture this. It's a completely ordinary Tuesday morning. The man who'd cared for this 30-year-old horse for years walks into a stable and finds him, well, just being himself, demanding, hungry, and absolutely full of fire. Hours later, he was gone.
And that, right there, that's the heart of our story today. Because what that caretaker said, it reveals everything you need to know about the spirit of a true champion. So, to really understand the end, we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
So let's rewind the clock. Before all the championships and the glory, our story begins where so many great ones do, in the heartland of horse racing, Kentucky, USA.
He was born in January of '96, and right from the get-go, this colt was pretty much destined for greatness. I mean, think about it. He was owned by the legendary Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum, and his dad was the phenomenal sire, Danzig. He literally had royalty in his veins. So he was sent across the Atlantic to England to be shaped into a champion by the masterful trainer, John Dunlop.
And the name they gave him was Mujahid. It means one who strives with all his strength. As it turns out, that was less of a name and a whole lot more of a prophecy for everything he was about to become.
And strive he did. As a 2-year-old, he didn't just step onto the European racing scene, he basically kicked the door right off its hinges.
His rise was just incredibly fast. He won his very first race at Newmarket. Then, boom, he captures a stakes race at Salisbury. And after that, he aimed for the biggest prize of them all. We're talking about the Group 1 Dewhurst Stakes. Now, for a 2-year-old thoroughbred in Europe, this is the Super Bowl, no question. It's the race that crowns the champion, the one that separates the good from the truly great. It's what makes everyone start dreaming of classic glory the next year. And in October of 1998, against a totally stacked field, Mujahid didn't just win, he dominated. He just exploded for a 2-length victory that left the crowd absolutely speechless.
And the result of that win? With that one breathtaking performance, he was officially rated the #1 2-year-old colt in all of Europe. He had reached the absolute pinnacle. But believe it or not, his story was really only just getting started.
You see, his racing career, that was just chapter 1. Next, Mujahid began a second career that would, you could argue, define his legacy even more. He became a sire, a father of champions.
This really captures the 2 sides of his incredible legacy, doesn't it? On one hand, you have this elite, top-of-the-class racehorse, and on the other, a true kingmaker. He didn't just win races himself, he passed that fire on, siring 32 individual stakes winners and champions all over the globe.
His influence was truly global. He stood at stud in England, he was shuttled all the way to Australia for their breeding season, and he produced winners across Europe, Australia, and the Middle East. The champion had become a worldwide phenomenon. But it was his final move, to a quiet stud farm near Milan back in 2008, that would cement his legend forever. Because in Italy, Mujahid didn't just succeed, he built an absolute dynasty.
I want you to just look at this number for a second. 7. In the story of his time in Italy, this single number, it represents utter and complete dominance. So what does it stand for?
He was crowned the Champion Sire of Italy 7 times in a row. Let that sink in. For 7 consecutive years, his sons and daughters on the racetrack earned more prize money than the offspring of any other stallion in the entire country, a record that honestly may never be broken.
But why were they so successful? His stud manager, Paolo Crespi, really said it best. His sons and daughters were tough, they were honest, and they always tried their hearts out. They were fighters, just like their dad. Which brings us full circle, right back to that quiet stable in Italy on March 3rd, 2026, and the end of a truly magnificent life. Mujahid passed away peacefully at the incredible age of 30. He lived a long, full life, and he went out with dignity. There was no long illness, no sudden tragedy. He just finished his race. And here it is, the words we promised you at the beginning. When asked about Mujahid's final days, Paolo Crespi simply said this: he was always aggressive, eager to cover a mare or to eat a ton of hay. He was the same every day,
until his last one. Think about that. He never got old. He never faded. He was a king right up to his final breath.
And when the news broke, the reaction was just immense. It wasn't only Italy that mourned him. Fans from Britain who saw him win the Dewhurst, from Australia who cheered for his champion kids, and from the Middle East for his owner Sheikh Hamdan, they all shared their grief and their memories.
So it kind of leaves us with one final question. In a sport that moves so incredibly fast, why does a horse like Mujahid leave such a permanent mark? I think it's because he represented something timeless: strength, consistency, and a fighting spirit that just plain refused to quit. He was a racer, a kingmaker, and an absolute legend. A horse who truly lived up to his name by striving with all his strength every single day of his life. Rest easy, King. You more than earned it.